Today's lesson begins Unit 5, where we begin to use lists, loops, and transversals and build apps that use larger amounts of information. But before we begin, make sure you've completed the Unit 4 tests posted in Google Classroom. Also, before we begin, make sure to watch this short video by Mr. Pietrzakowski on how to be successful at e-learning. If you're following in code.org, we are working in Unit 5, Lesson 1. In your journal, brainstorm a list of information that you encounter on a daily basis. This could be things like a list of chores, items to get at the grocery store, or things you might want to pack to go on vacation. All of these things have the same thing in common. They're items of information that have a category. If you have these items at home, they will be helpful for today's lesson, but if you don't, you can just picture what is on the screen. We've already learned that variables can help us store one piece of information, such as a variable called my name, and we give it a value of Jose. But what if we have a lot of information? With a partner on your own, discuss the challenges that you would encounter if you needed to store 1, 10, 100, 1,000 pieces of information using different variables. The main challenge is that you would need to make a variable for each piece of information, and it could get difficult to name them all. Let's look at how to use list. We're going to practice using a new way to store information called a list. Follow the instructions here to make your own. For example, if we're going to have a list called lunch food, the things in that list might be nachos, pizza, soup, etc. If we were making a list, normally we would use bullet points. But in computer programming, we need to list them across the screen, and each one will have an index. In this case, the place that nachos is 0, because in computer programming, we start with 0 instead of 1. What is the second item on the list is actually place value 1, in this case, pizza. Soup is the third thing on the list, and it will be placed at the second. Your list is made up of elements. Each element has its own index. Index are just numbers that count from 0. The length of the list is how many elements it contains. This list has 3 elements and indexes from 0 to 2. Notice that all the bags can be folded up and placed inside the big variable baggie. Sometimes we want to think about the whole list, sometimes we want to think about the individual elements. Say we create a list with this command. It creates a new list and assigns it to a variable. The square brackets indicate we're making a list. Each value is separated by commas. So my list has elements of pizza and the number 4. Because pizza came first in the list, it goes at index 0. If we want to access the values in our list, we use the square brackets next to the name of our list. In this example, lunch food 0 indicates what item on the list is at place value 0. This would be nachos. And lunch food 2 is soup. We can use list accesses inside of expressions just like variables. For this example, the list is my numbers that has 10, 20, 25. I want to take my numbers 1, which is 20, and add 3 to it. This equates to 23. If I take my number 0, which is 10, and my number's 2, which is 25, it becomes 35. We can assign the index of a list just like a variable. In this example, my numbers list is 10, 20, 25. But when I change the value of one of those in those spots, I change my list. So if I change the item at place 0 to 5, my list now becomes 5, 20, 25. If I change the item that's at place 2 to 30, my new list is 5, 20, 30. Let's run this program and compare what will be at the end. If I have a list called My Stuff that has 20, hat, pal, and 5, I'm going to replace what is at position 1 with cat. That means hat is going to be replaced with cat. Now I'm going to replace what is at place 2 with what became at place 1, which is cat. So it should be 20, cat, cat, 5. Now I'm going to replace what is at 0 with what is at 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, which is 5, plus 10, which becomes 15. So now it should be 15 cat cat 5. And I updated what is at 3 with my stuff 0, which is 15, plus what is at 15. My final one should be 30. Let's try another example. My stuff has dog, cat, 3, 10. I'm going to replace things at these positions and change my list. Tree was inserted, cat was removed, and my new list looks like this. Now let's learn about 3 different commands that can change your list. Removing an item simply takes something out of your list. In my original list called My Numbers is 10, 20, 25, and I need to remove an item that's at place 1, it means I took out 20, so now my list is 10, 25. And if I remove the item that's at place 0, all I'm left is 25. Appending an item inserts it into the end of the list. If my list just has 10, and I'm going to append something at the end of the list, I'm going to add 50 on to the next spot. And in line 2, I'm going to add 100 to the end, which now makes my list 10, 50, 100. If I insert an item, it goes in the middle of the list somewhere that I tell it to go. In the nums list, I have 10 and 50. But this time, I'm going to insert something in my list at place 1 with the value of 20. So 20 is inserted now in my list at place 1. Then I'm going to insert a number in my nums list at place 1 and give it a value of 100. Since I inserted it at place 1 twice, I bumped 20 down. So now my list is 10, 100, 20, 50. Try this program on your own and see what you can come up with. The A list starts with 20 hat pal. I'm going to append something at the end and give it 5. I'm going to append something at the end and give it 10. So now I should have 20 hat pal 5, 10 in my list. I'm going to remove something at position 1, which is hat. So it'll be 20 pal 5, 10. And I'm going to insert the word bang at position 2. So it should be 20 pal bang 5, 10. Now my list has 5 elements. Try this program on your own. My B list starts with 2, 5, and po. I'm going to insert something, move it around, and give it to a position. This will go on the end. I'm going to insert an item inside my list, and then I'll remove something. My final list now says 2, go, po, potato, because I combined a few positions of elements to create potato. The key takeaways for today is that a list is an ordered collection of elements. An index is referencing the elements that are in the list. Your assignment today is a short vocabulary quiz on the items of things we use today. You can retake until you get 100% correct.